In the last episode, we discussed the history and overview of Hudson River Park. In this episode, we will start from the southernmost pier of Hudson River Park and introduce them one by one. Starting from the southernmost point, Pier 25 and Pier 26 in the Tribeca neighborhood are located along the river. Both piers have now been converted into parks. The parks feature various types of outdoor recreational facilities. Due to Manhattan's Hudson River shoreline being at the confluence of the Hudson River, the seamouth, and the Atlantic Ocean, the mixing of fresh and salt water has developed a very rich ecosystem. Therefore, the design of Pier 26 incorporates this ecological background. It is worth mentioning that the earliest master plan somewhat resembled a squid, with the pier's pathways extending into the river like the tentacles of a squid. However, likely due to cost considerations, the pier's design later evolved into what we see today, which is quite interesting. The pier itself is divided into 4 sections from east to west, featuring native species that reflect the original natural landscape of Manhattan's riverbanks. Starting from the east side of the pier is a forest. Then moving west, there is a grassland, followed by commonly seen shrubs, and finally the tidal wetlands. At the far west, this tidal platform is designed with a walkway, allowing you to walk down closer to the wetlands to observe their ecology as a method of research and education. So the design of this pier actually reflects the Hudson River Park not only as a place for relaxation, but also its ecological environment provides important resources for research and education. Hudson River Park itself also collaborates with many institutions to develop research programs and riverbank ecological restoration projects, including the restoration of Oyster Reef ecosystems. Moreover, near Pier 26 along the riverbank, besides a playground designed with an ecological theme, there is also a plan to construct a relatively small building as a research and education center for estuarine ecology. Additionally, we can understand a bit about which entities are funding Hudson River Park and further explore the park's connection to the surrounding community. Pier 26 has several sources of funding, including public fundraising and approximately $16.7 million from an organization called Lower Manhattan Development Corporation, LMDC, established after the 9/11 attacks to rebuild Lower Manhattan, which will be mentioned again when we talk about the World Trade Center. Besides, Citigroup provided $10 million to enhance corporate image, especially since Pier 26 is directly in front of Citigroup's global headquarters. Funds for the adjacent research and education center come from New York State, New York City, and New York State Department of Environmental Protection, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Another fun fact, Pier 25 and Pier 26 are adjacent to the Tribeca neighborhood, which is one of the residential areas in New York favored by celebrities, such as 443 Greenwich Street, a historic building converted into residential apartments, often referred to as the Celebrity Apartment because it has been home to Justin Timberlake, Jessica Biel, Harry Styles, Jennifer Lawrence, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Jack Gyllenhaal, Jennifer Gates, and Lewis Hamilton. Anyway, what else? Rebel Wilson, Meg Ryan also live here. North of Tribeca, past Canal Street, is the Hudson Square neighborhood. Now this neighborhood's waterfront only has the ventilation towers for the Holland Tunnel. On the east side of the West Side Highway, there's also a uniquely shaped building which is essentially a giant warehouse filled with salt for melting snow on New York's roads in winter. Besides, we need to talk about the Hudson Square neighborhood, which has been very topical in recent years due to many new developments underway. Traditionally, this neighborhood was a hub for the media, printing, and fashion industries, mainly due to cheaper rents. However, after the urban redevelopment of Hudson Square was approved in 2013, it unlocked the opportunities for the whole neighborhood. The new urban plan allowed for increased density and residential construction, and the Hudson Square really took off. Among the more special developments are residential buildings designed by Renzo Piano and Cookbox. On the office side, there's the soon-to-be completed Disney headquarters designed by SOM, which is expected to have the largest floor area within the redevelopment area. Another office development is the expansion and renovation of an existing building by Cookbox, which claims to be among the most energy-efficient new buildings in New York. For those interested in details, you can search online. Google has rented a large portion of space as part of its Google campus here in Hudson Square. The redevelopment area will also have a new office building designed by Shop, with several floors at the base allocated for a new school. Overall, the community is currently thriving in both residential and commercial developments. All this began with the urban redevelopment in 2013. Why was there an urban redevelopment? It's important to mention that the largest landowner in Hudson Square is Trinity Church, which refers to the church in the Lower Manhattan Parish located near Wall Street. This church organization owns a lot of land in prime Manhattan locations, so much so that the organization has its own real estate company to manage all its assets. It can be considered one of New York's major landlords and developers, plus the religious organization itself gets many tax breaks. Whether or not this tax system is fair, we won't discuss. Anyway, Trinity Church's wealth accumulated very quickly. This Trinity Church was established during the British colonization of Manhattan and is part of the Church of England. In 1705, the then British Queen gifted a portion of the royal lands to this church, most of which are in what is now Hudson Square. Whether or not this transfer of land ownership was fair, we won't discuss. Anyway, Trinity Church currently owns 40% of the land in Hudson Square. Then, in 2013, the New York City Council passed the urban redevelopment initiated by Trinity Church, which is the largest urban redevelopment project initiated by a private institution in New York's history. On one hand, it has allowed this community to thrive further. On the other hand, it has significantly increased the value of Trinity Church's assets. For example, for the development of the Disney headquarters, Disney purchased a 99-year land development right from the landlord, which is Trinity Church, for $650 million. Anyway, I hope Trinity Church will use the money earned to do something good. Next, let's discuss Pier 40, located at the boundary between Hudson Square and West Village, and its relationship with the St. John's Terminal Development Project. Pier 40 currently occupies the area originally made up of 5 smaller piers, namely Piers 37 to 41. In 1956, the New York City government decided to replace the original 5 piers with a larger one. After its completion in 1962, Pier 40 became a very large shipping pier. Later, when shipping declined, the New York State Department of Transportation purchased Pier 40 in 1983 and repurposed it as a large parking lot in 1998. Following the Hudson River Park Act of 1998, Pier 40 was incorporated into Hudson River Park, and in 2005, new sports fields were opened. Currently, Pier 40 primarily serves as a parking lot, sports facility, and tourist yacht dock. As the largest pier in the entire Hudson River Park, its commercial revenue is crucial for the park's operations. However, Pier 40 faces 2 main challenges. One is the lack of consensus on its future development. Its current use as a parking lot and sports facility is only temporary, and redevelopment is necessary to generate more revenue to support the park's operations. But there is no development plan that has achieved consensus. The other challenge is the structural problems of Pier 40 itself. Both the pier structure and its underlying piles are severely damaged, and the pier is slowly sinking. Comprehensive repairs to these structural and foundational issues would be very costly. Therefore, the 2013 amendment to the Hudson River Park Act allowed the park to sell unused development rights from specific piers to development projects across the street. This change was controversial. On one hand, there were concerns that buildings along West Side Highway would become too large, and on the other hand, the original design of the pier's volume was to ensure a steady income to support the park's expenses. Selling the development rights was a one-time transaction, and once the money was spent, it was gone. In order to quickly address the foundational issues of Pier 40, the park sold 200,000 square feet of unused development rights for $100 million to the St. John's Terminal Development Project across the street in 2016, using the funds to repair the pier's piles, structural roof, and even the fire sprinkler system. In the long term, this transaction money will be quickly depleted, and Pier 40 will need to find ways to generate more revenue for the park's operational expenses and its own repairs. However, due to the lack of consensus on the redevelopment of Pier 40, its future is currently a big question mark. As for the St. John's Terminal development project, which purchased a lot of volume from Pier 40, it is in full swing. The St. John's Terminal development project starts from the 1930s. In the episode about the High Line, we mentioned the West Side Improvement Plan started in 1929, which built the West Side Elevated Railway, the precursor to the High Line. St. John's Terminal was the southern terminus of this elevated railway. The terminal building was completed and opened in 1934. It spanned 3 city blocks along the West Side Highway. Trains would enter this terminus directly from the elevated railway to unload goods, which were then transported from the ground floor of the building to various parts of Manhattan by other means of transport. After the West Side Elevated Railway was abandoned around 1960, the railway company sold St. John's Terminal to others, and the building was used for office rentals until 2013. In 2013, St. John's Terminal was sold for $250 million to a joint venture led by developer Atlas Capital, initiating the redevelopment of the 3 city blocks it occupies. In the first phase of this development, the developers hired the architectural firm Cook Fox to conduct the ULURP, or Urban Land Use Review process, which is a change in urban planning. The new urban plan involves demolishing most of the existing buildings and constructing various types of residential spaces across the 3 blocks. The northern block will have for-sale residences and affordable senior housing. The middle block will have for-sale and rental residences, with 51% of the rental units being affordable housing. The southern block will have a hotel and some commercial spaces. Part of the existing elevated railway within the building will be preserved as a part connecting the different blocks, somewhat like the High Line. An important part of the plan includes purchasing the development rights from Pier 40. This plan passed the New York City Council's review in 2016, completing the change in urban planning. However, the development project took a turn in 2017 when Atlas Capital sold the middle and southern blocks for $700 million to a joint venture formed by developer Oxford Properties and a Canadian pension fund. This joint venture decided not to build residential units according to the amended land use, but instead to build new office buildings according to the original land use. They hired Cook Fox again to design the new office building, retaining the existing 3-story building within the 2 blocks and adding 9 floors of offices on top, still using the original name, St. John's Terminal. During the design process, the developers chose an office layout uncommon in New York. Generally, New York office developments have smaller floor areas per level, but many floors. However, after a series of assessments, the developers decided to build lower with larger floor areas per level. This key decision later attracted Google as a tenant. In 2018, Google planned to develop a Google campus in Hudson Square. Besides renting numerous offices in 2 other buildings in Hudson Square, Google also rented the entire St. John's Terminal, which was still under construction. Then in 2021, Google simply bought St. John's Terminal from Oxford Properties for $2.1 billion, transitioning from tenant to landlord. For Oxford Properties, spending $700 million to buy these 2 plots of land and then selling them after development for $2.1 billion sounds like a very good business. The new office building was completed in 2023. Do remember that Atlas Capital sold 2 of these 3 city blocks occupied by the original St. John's Terminal to Oxford Properties? That means Atlas Capital still has 1 block on the north side. The original St. John's Terminal on this block had already been demolished. Later in 2022, Atlas Capital partnered with the well-known luxury real estate developer Zeckendorf to develop the northern block. This block was to be developed according to the land use changes passed in 2016 and will have a dual tower for sale residence and a senior affordable housing building. This project also started construction in 2023. Incidentally, on the north side of this project is another for-sale residence designed by Herzog and de Moran, which is quite cute. In the next episode, we will continue north to introduce the piers along the Hudson River Park in the West Village and Chelsea neighborhoods.